Marsha Blackburn on the line. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning to you. And yes, happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to your listeners.
Well, thank you so much. One of the things that I was just telling our audience, Senator, is that you and I will be at the Hudson Institute. There will be a live link, so you don't have to fly to D.C. or go to Hudson. You can watch us online. But you and I will be there at 10:30 East today, talking about and really bringing to attention and bringing to light and reminding people what Hamas did on October 7th to Israeli and American women by using rape as a weapon of war. And we think it's important to call this out as people call for a ceasefire. I think we need to remind everybody what actually happened on that day. So Senator Blackburn, would love your thoughts and sort of a preview on what you plan to talk about today at the Hudson Institute.
Yes, Morgan, one thing that is so important to keep in mind is that they did plan, this was intentional, to use rape and the horrors of rape as a weapon of war. They had children watch their mothers being raped. They had children watch as their parents were shot. And then they paraded women through the street half naked so that people could look at them. And they were repeatedly raped, some raped to the point of death. They had broken legs. They had broken pelvises. Their bodies were bloody. And this shows you the brutality and barbaric nature of these Hamas fighters. There was nothing there that they were saying, we're going to go fight as an army and fight another army. These are war crimes, and they need to be treated as war crimes. And it is important that the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, pass funding for Israel so that Israel has what they need to protect themselves.
Well, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Senator Blackburn, because we actually led the show this morning talking about how Zelensky was in town and about Israel-Ukraine aid. But to me, it looks like, and this is just an observation from the outside, Senator Blackburn, it looks like the White House and Senator Schumer were not serious about a negotiation in which Republicans have demanded very simply that there needs to be more protections at our southern border. And it just looks like to me as an outsider that they're just not serious about negotiating real reforms to our southern border. So where are we? What's the latest on this negotiation?
Well, James Langford has led our Senate negotiating team on this. And Morgan, he continues to be open. I think it's instructive to this entire discussion to realize that while James Langford, who was negotiating for Senate Republicans, worked through the weekend, the White House never sent anybody to negotiate. So they weren't serious about this. That says they want what they want. They want no strings attached. They want blank checks. And here's the reason that House and Senate Republicans are saying our border first. If you look at the fact that in the month of October alone, you had 2,000 Chinese, over 100 Russians, over 30 Iranians, 35 Pakistanis, and numerous Afghans that came to that southern border. Now, they came for illegal entry. Those are the ones that we know because they raised their hand and said asylum. We do not know the numbers that are in the gotaways. Also, we know that under Joe Biden, we have had 279 known terrorists come to that southern border and seek asylum. And we don't send them back to their country. We don't send them to Gitmo where they belong. They go before a judge to see if they deserve to stay in the country. Now, do you think anybody wants the terrorists coming into their hometown? Absolutely not. This is ridiculous. It is out of control. And this is why we are saying our border first.
That's right. Well, and I'm glad that you guys are not being pushed, Senator Blackburn, into some sort of last-minute deal before Christmas like the Democrats normally try to do. So I'm congrats to the Senate Republicans for standing strong. You know, something else that I saw that you're working on that caught my attention, you called for a new GAO study, and this study found that taxpayer dollars funded $2 billion towards organizations that perform abortions. And this was just in the past 3 years. Can you tell us a little bit more about this study that you called for?
Yes, indeed. Representative Chris Smith and I asked GAO for a study last January that would go through and track the amount of money. You know, Morgan, what we kept hearing during COVID was that money was going into these abortion providers. And lo and behold, once GAO, which is bipartisan, GAO finished their study. GAO is the Government Accountability Office. Once they finished it, it is nearly $2 billion that the Biden administration has sent to abortion providers. And then we found out also that Planned Parenthood took $90.4 million in PPP loans. And that was not there for organizations like Planned Parenthood. It was there for small businesses, the mom and pop. So it has been quite revealing with the amount of money that this administration has allowed to go into abortion providers and abortion services.
Wow, wow. Well, you know, Marsha Blackburn, you are always outspoken on standing by the Jewish people. You're always outspoken on standing by women. And I'm really looking forward, again, you could find it on both Senator Blackburn and my social media, the live link to our event at the Hudson Institute at 10:30 today, where we will again be highlighting more about what has happened to Israeli women and how we can speak out. You know, I probably know the answer to this, Senator Blackburn, but one of the things that I have found pretty disgusting in this whole discussion is that, you know, the organization UN Women and international organizations like them were basically nowhere to be found. They had to be shamed into admitting that Israeli women went through the horrible atrocities that you mentioned at the beginning of this segment. Why do you think that these organizations won't stand for Jewish women? Is our rape somehow different?
And the thing that is so astounding about that is you had the perpetrators of these war crimes, these rapes, they put it on video. They were very proud of what they were doing. And even with that,
Yes.
with not just admission, but claiming credit for what the Hamas fighters were doing, they were very proud of it. You did not have these organizations stand up until you had bipartisan women stand up and say, you all are out of touch. You are standing with Hamas, and you can't do this. And Morgan, it was just, I think it was astounding to many of us that whether it was some of these liberal women's organizations that always support the left, they don't support the right, or it was UN Women, they did not stand up and protect women in a time of need. One of the reasons we need to start defunding these organizations.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We need accountability. You know, one more thing, too. A lot of people know that I live in Nashville, not far from you, and we actually had some very bad tornadoes near you and I, about 20, 30 minutes away in Hendersonville. I know we have a lot of listeners that listen to the show from Tennessee. Can you give us an update on what's going on in Hendersonville and the cleanup and trying to help people there?
Yes, Clarksville, Hendersonville. We've been hard at work on this, and of course, we just mourn with the families that have lost loved ones, the communities that have lost loved ones, and the children that lost their lives. And our staff is there assisting. We are working with TEMA and FEMA, and the individuals that were harmed by the storm can go to my website, blackburn.senate.gov, or social media at Marsha Blackburn, and they can find the links and the information where they can receive assistance. We'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that we got that in because, again, I know I often hear from so many people around Tennessee that listen to the Hugh Hewitt Show. And for those of you who weren't listening, you're listening in from other places other than Tennessee, that our community was really affected there. And so we thank everybody who's giving in. Senator Blackburn, you guys are out of session, I believe, next week. Is there anything that we should expect from the Senate before we go on holiday break? Or is it mostly about all of you holding the line and ensuring that we protect our border? Should we expect anything else before the Christmas break?
Well, we are going to pass the National Defense Authorization Act. We have voted closer on that bill, so we're on that bill right now. Also, I'm going to present a live UC with Senator Marshall, and once again, we're trying to push the funding for Israel across the finish line.
That's great. Well, I'm so lucky to have you. I will see you at 10:30. I hope everybody watches live at 10:30 as Senator Blackburn and I are at the Hudson Institute talking about these important issues.